Bill Major. This is Shaman Time. I'm happy to be here, as always, affording us an opportunity to set aside some time out of our lives and do some introspective work and look on the inside of ourselves and see what we're doing and how things are affecting us, and then how we're affecting things outside of us. Like I said, this is Shaman Time, the time that we come together and afford ourselves an opportunity to kick back, relax, take a deep breath, and let ourselves slip into another kind of dimension and time. We've talked about time and how it's transferred itself into a new speed of high gear activity because of our aging. Our aging really hasn't affected the time at all. The times remain consistent and constant, just that our minds are taken to a new place as we begin to understand how the fleeting seconds get away from us and accumulate over a period that creates a gap. And in that gap, we find ourselves wondering, what have I been doing? And what should I have been doing? Most of us have a cycle of how we wake and we work and we rest. Right now, that cycle is being interrupted quite frequently during our rest period. True, it's only for a moment or two, and perhaps part of the time in our dream state. Nonetheless, it's being interrupted. And you say, what is this interruption caused by? Or how do you know it even happens? Or if my sleep is being interrupted, how do I know it's happening to me? Well, there's any number of ways it manifests itself. Some people know right away because there's a gap in their memory. They remember they were doing something and then it stopped. And then they pick back up, but they're in a different place. It's like reading a book and closing it and forgetting to mark the space where you were, so that when you open the book again, you begin from where you belong. So that's one way. Then there are folks that like to journal, that take the time to register down the chronology of what they dream about, what it means to them when they wake, and how it's going on. They begin to notice that they're not having the smooth, dream-like state, where when they normally wake, they have an observation to make as to how the dreams went. There may be one or more, or maybe just one long one. And their journaling begins to reflect gaps and skips, or where they don't have anything to journal at all. And yet they may have consistently been journaling for years, but now they don't have any recollection of what their dream was. What's truly causing the interruptions? Well, it's the cosmos itself is much more active, and it's much louder now than it's ever been before. And you say, well, how can that be? What's actually going on is the Earth itself is changing, and it's losing some of its kind of defensive mechanisms. Where in the past, as these things approached the planet, they veered off or were pushed aside because of the magnetic poles and envelope around the planet. This envelope around our Earth has changed and is continuing to change. In time, the next 5 to 10 years, I think our scientific community will begin to measure and recall what those changes are. But for now, it's very subtle and not really being paid much attention to it. Our sun is getting much more active. We're having bigger solar flares, and the energy is just abounding and just coming and screaming at us ever so hard. And this in itself brings another dimension of disruption, not only to our telecommunications, radio, TV services, but also to us. As these particles come, they disrupt us. There's quarks and cosmic particles that are just flying, and they just disrupt things. We don't have much of a defense anymore. The ozone's there and the ionosphere, but things are coming through, and it's bombarding us more all the time. There's not much of a defense that we can have at it unless we were to really go deeply underground, and that's not practical. We're surface dwellers, and we belong out here on the surface of the earth, where we can enjoy the light, the sun, the seasons. would really be drastic for us to have to go underground. But there's some people that have pursued that line of thought and have even made themselves available to talk about it and to discuss it. And to have even grandiose plans where they take the population and move it all the way underground. And it has been the subject of some science fiction movies in the past as to where the world was in such chaos on the surface that the population had to go underground to survive. I'm not advocating that we become cave dwellers again or go underground. I'm just saying it's about the only way that we could truly get away from this new bombardment that's happening. Well, our first line of being able to get ourselves defended to some degree is to raise our own vibration. For us to raise ourselves and our vibration higher. Our higher frequency vibration will actually put us into a place where we're no longer affected by this steady bombardment as much as we have in the past. Our frequency going up will cause us to be in a different category of sympathy or empathy with these frequencies that are bombarding us in these cosmic rays and particles. We'll actually become invisible to them, and they'll just pass right on through, and we won't be affected by them. But you talk about raising our own frequency. How can we do that? Well, the good news is a lot of us are already on that journey. Who we are and what we are is usually indicated by how we approach life, what we think of our spirituality, and just good common sense of realizing that there are life changes in us that are beyond the normal maturing of aging or maybe just getting better diet or exercising more. We actually can feel the changes in us. We're grounded better to the earth. We can actually feel the earth beneath our feet better. We can feel the stability of the planet itself. And we can tell when Mother Earth is slightly out of kilter, as is right now with a flurry of earthquakes and changes of the magma and the mantle under the surface. These things will become more evident as history is accumulated and then played back to us at a later date. Right now, there's not much of a collection that's really available to tie it all together. There's some speculation, I'm sure, among certain people that deal with geology and the earth itself. They may be tuned into it to some degree, but I don't think the general public is reading a lot about it, nor are they seeking out information as to what are the structural changes and earth changes that are going on. They're more in line with getting on with their day-to-day lives, just like you and I are. But we are definitely affected by the changes. I've talked about taking ourselves and increasing our frequency to get us to be at a higher vibration so that we're not grossly affected by all the new particles that are coming our way. And it prepares us to be ready for the large solar storms that are coming so that that will not affect us either. And we'll be protected by our new vibrations and how high our frequency is. Put that love out there for everybody. I look forward to seeing you next time. It's Bill Major, and this is Shaman Time.